Oi, look, look, look who's knitting.
Sorry, I'm just getting carried away here. The
Well,
obsession. The
you're getting
obsession
ready
is
for it,
real.
aren't you?
I know, I can't wait. I cannot wait, Stuart.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome to a brand new show that you never knew you needed. But yes, this is, we've provisionally called it Unravelled. It may stick. You might write in with some new name ideas for it. But yes, it's with me, Stuart, from the Wool Patch and from the Sewing Bee Unpicked videos. And look who we've got.
Hello.
Lizzie, introduce yourself,
Oh, out of the
Lizzie.
way. Yes, I'm Lizzie, and Stuart and I met because of the Sewing Bee Unpicked show, because I was on Sewing Bee a couple of years ago, and we got chatting since then. Stuart has a yarn shop, and I'm also obsessed with yarn and have knitted all of my life. So we've started talking
Yeah,
yarn, and we just saw this as an opportunity not to miss to talk about yarn together.
absolutely. And I think a couple of people had posted on my YouTube site to say, oh, do you know what? You could do a show like Unpicked, but with the new game of wool. And then, yes, as our chats went on, and as I saw you knitting more and realised you've been knitting, have you been knitting longer than you've been sewing?
About the same. So when I was, as soon as I was big enough to hold needles, basically, my mum taught me all the skills that knitting, sewing, embroidery, um, patchwork. So so I was very little when she taught me, and because I lost her very young, um, especially knitting. I mean, all of it I do, and it just reminds me of her. But especially knitting is when I'm holding my needles, and I'm sort of a fan. I do knit continental and English, but she taught me English style on sticks. And I just remember being sort of 7 and 8 years old, and her hands coming round and holding on and sort of helping me position the yarn and the needles and just get a lovely knit
Yeah.
going. And so ever since then, it's a massive comfort blanket for me, knitting, because it just helps me, it just channels the lovely, comforting presence of my mum. So
Oh,
yeah,
wonderful. And I think a lot of people think that it is, when you think knitting, you kind of conjure up the dark winter nights, don't you? And that cozy
yeah,
house, the doors locked, the curtains drawn, and it's dark and
yeah,
cold, and you're inside with maybe a fire. And there is nothing better than having the knitting on your lap. It's definitely seen as a
absolutely.
winter thing, isn't it?
It is, although when my mum taught me, we were in our caravan holidays in West Wales. And so I've also got fond memories about those family times and
Oh,
just being on
lovely.
the coast and those lovely shipping forecast, all of it. It's all very I mean, maybe, English holidays, English camping holidays, it's sort of you need the
Oh,
comfort year round,
and
don't you?
and Wales as well. Was it Tenby by any chance? Or Pembroke?
It was St David's, so Pembrokeshire, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
lovely. Yeah, I was on the caravan with my grandparents several times
Oh,
down at
my,
Tenby. Loved it.
ah,
Well, there we are. So it's perfect then, isn't it? With your many years of experience knitting, my 9 years of having a yarn shop and running a yarn shop after leaving teaching, it makes the brilliant ingredients for an after show for this new program on Channel 4 that we're all getting very excited about, the Game of
yeah.
Wool. So we're going to
Well,
be doing the Game of Wool after show with you. It's going to be great, isn't it?
yeah, well, also because I don't know if the viewers will have known about your uh, journey so far. We might come to that in another
Okay.
episode, but you've had a bit of an insight into how this show might work. And then with my sewing bee experience, we're just fascinated how it's going to
Yeah.
work, aren't we, Stuart?
Absolutely. And that's pretty much what we want to talk about today is how on earth are they going to make a challenge program out of probably one of the most slowest art forms possible.
Amazing.
It is
Yeah.
amazing. And we're going to have a giggle today in this sort of pre-show to get everyone excited about it, get the discussion happening, talk about what type of challenges. We're going to look through the format that Channel 4 have released, what we know so far. So it's going to be interesting to see how they do it. And we may have to, like film, suspend our disbelief with the whole time and just go, yeah, it's a challenge show. You wouldn't normally have 8 hours to knit a jumper in.
No. Oh, no, like Sewing Bee was, a lot of people ask me, well, firstly, they asked me, do you really have as long as they say? Because they just don't believe that's, yes, you do have exactly the time that they give you. The thing is, when you're doing a show like this, which is a competition, they like to do the timings or the challenges with an element of peril. So
Yeah.
so it might not cut, the contestant might not pull this one off. And so that's kind of how we feel about lots of our knitting projects anyway, at the best of times, only it might take you 3 months to realise you're not going to pull it off, not 3 minutes.
Is it going to be like, I had a really nice show I loved watching called Ice Road Truckers. And you knew, have you ever watched it? And you knew the format.
I'm aware of it.
It's every 15 minutes before the next ad break, there would be some sort of peril. Oh no, Jodie has hit some sort of ice block. Will the lorry tip over or not? And it's like, because they think that we're going to turn off and the peril will keep us because we want to know what happens.
Yeah.
But after watching 20 series of Ice Road Truckers, you kind of knew the format, but you understood it's a production thing. And I think that's what we'll enjoy talking about is, right, we understand the production side of things, but we can also understand there is knitting and crochet and wool on mainstream telly. That has to be celebrated, doesn't it, Lizzie?
That's just bonkers, totally. And also, I think because I think the production company that are doing this, they make a lot of natural history.
Oh, shall we have a look?
I mean, it's not a natural leap, is it, from leopards to
No.
yarn, but
Leopards to linen.
so
Yeah, here we go.
But what this tells me is, here we go. Look at all this beautiful natural history footage, and what this tells me is this company know how to make beautiful photography. So, I mean, peril and entertainment aside, if you're looking at the slow telly movement, celebrating the craft of wool and spinning and fibre, and the potential for it to just be an absolutely beautiful thing to gaze at is right up there. But that's not going to make a competition, is it? So it's interesting.
It will be, and that's what's going to be so good about our show and talking about it and getting excited about it. How are they going to balance that, and then actually what will come on our screens? Now, as far as I know, we think, and it's not for certain, it's going to be aired this year. Okay, now, and there are two things about that. Is that when I went for an audition, which we'll talk about later, they kind of said it would be hopefully this year or early winter still 2026. But since seeing the launch of Bake Off, which is early mid-September, that is about a 10-week run, like the Sewing Bee. There then is a blank after that slot. And I think it's going to fill that same slot on mainstream Channel 4. Because at first I thought it was going to be More 4 only, because it was More 4 that originally had the pitch. But I think it's been bumped up to Channel 4 now.
That's another question I've got, actually. Who is the audience for this? Who are they? I'm intrigued to know. Is it the sort of the old traditionals, or is it, if you go to yarn shows these days, there's so many new sort of like yourself, Stuart, you dye your own yarn, and there's so many brilliant new yarn dyeing, what am I trying to say?
I think there's generations, isn't there? You've got the 20, 30 somethings with a lot of disposable income. You've then got this mix. I would think we're in the middle, aren't we? We're that sort of 40s, 50s generation.
Yes, we're like the Gen Xers who,
Yeah.
so people talk about the boomers and the millennials and Gen Z and things, but we're the Gen X that people kind of forget that we straddle both camps,
Yes,
darling.
absolutely.
We in that same way that we grew up without digital, but then we've come to adopt it.
Like we're here now.
Um,
Yeah.
we're a bit the same with our knitting, I guess. So there's a whole load of us in the middle who um, we're really actually a bit sentimental about honouring the
Yeah.
traditional way we were taught, and yet at the same time, for example, a lot of the new patterns that there are these days are written in um, circular needles,
Top
top
down.
down.
Absolutely seamless.
My mum never knitted like that, so
No. Yet
you know, so I,
you could argue though, the Europeans have been knitting top down for years and zonks. So
yes, okay,
it's
yeah, yeah,
combining lots of traditions from all around, and that's what excites me because many of my knit and natter ladies at my shop,
yeah.
and most of them are ladies, they are of the retired generation. They're still old school English throwing, but some of them now are adopting the circular needles because the companies, and let's face it, the companies are now coming to the 21st century, aren't they? And making cool knitting needles. The
Oh
old sort
yeah.
of steel or plastic grey needles are pretty much long forgotten, aren't they? What needles have you got there? Have you got some? Have you got
Oh, I've got
Knit
the
Pro
old
Symphonies, or have you
Knit
got?
Pro Mindfuls. They've got a little reminder for me to breathe,
Yeah, there's so
and
many.
then but with my swivel
Yeah.
interchangeables. Oops, I've just dropped a few
All
stitches.
right, pick them up.
Um, but the lot in our shop over in Bristol. So I work part time in a knitting shop called No Frills, and they're all quite a bit young, mostly quite a bit younger than me, and they're all completely into. They'll if a new person to knitting comes into the shop, they'll have them on circular
Yeah.
needles as soon as they can. Whereas I'd probably say it's okay work with sticks for just till you get your tension and your knit purl. I don't know. There's
It
horses for courses. I don't think
absolutely.
it's one way is right or
Yeah.
wrong, is it?
But I think that sums up the fact that we're still straddling different generations. And that's why I think this show is actually going
Yeah.
to have a lot of age ranges watching. Because, as let's go on to that, let's talk about the format, because they've announced Tom Daly. So I think that's a
Yay!
specific decision as well, isn't it? To
It is.
attract
Now,
the younger
my
audience as
burning
well as the older one.
my burning question, Stuart,
Okay.
will he be wearing his speedo?
Oh, of course he will. He'll just have probably a pair of chinos over the top. He'll get them
I'm
out
sure it'll
sometime.
be.
It will be nice to, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think yeah. It's a nice choice because that he's a really sort of um, I think he's got a really broad appeal, and maybe this is why they've got the expert judges as well because they really are experts.
Yeah.
So maybe in that mix,
I think,
Tom Daly is not an expert knitter. He's just a very famous person who
yeah.
knits.
And I'm actually
Unless it's
glad they haven't gone down that same format as the other shows with the idea of thinking it needs to be a humorous show with having a comedian
comedian.
in. So I think this works. And you're right. You've got the two age ranges. You've got Tom, new to the knitting world, and how much he
Yeah.
can learn from the experienced judges. Let's go and look at the judges now. We've talked about those, and then we'll look at the
Yes.
format. So here are the two judges for the show. Now, bear in mind, it's filmed in Scotland by a Scottish company, and the judges are from Scotland too. So you've got Di Gilpin and Sheila Greenwell.
Oh,
And
just look at
I
them.
know in their jumpers there, I think that's one of Di's
So
designs
lovely.
too. I've got, and I have to confess, and this is where the knitting world is so huge. In my 9 years of running a yarn shop, I had never come across the name of Di Gilpin. How unbelievably shocking is that?
Well, it is and it isn't, because I just think there's loads that we don't come across, because these hobbies, lifestyles, sort of lifelines, if you like, because they keep so many of us on an even keel, don't they? But these are the sort of things that we do on our own, in quiet, in our homes, and you just know what you know.
Yeah.
And it's only when you start talking to other people or getting together with other people that you might come across these names. And so I think it's completely okay if you've never heard of Di Gilpin. I hadn't before this year, but then my learning curve is
Yeah.
enormous at the moment, especially because I've just started working with Meg and at No Frills. So it, I just think it's great that we are learning, and that people
Absolutely.
like this
Yeah. Yeah.
have the exposure they probably deserve, because
Yeah.
they're just phenomenal.
So let's give a little bit of a background. I've written some notes down here. Di is the founder and creative director of Di Gilpin Limited, the hand knit design studio, which has been based in Scotland for more than 38 years. That's some
Wow.
experience, isn't it?
Mm,
And she started work as a teacher too. And that I
amazing.
do find that in the knitting world. I'm sure it happens with other hobbies, but it's just because I'm in it. But I do feel the the education or the spreading and learning of skills and techniques is just abundant. It happens all the time. Do you find that in the shop too?
Yes, yeah, and every time a customer comes in, um, it's not every time, because sometimes people absolutely know, and that I'm learning from them. But even explaining something to help them understand and make a choice in the shop, I'm sort of learning.
Yeah.
It's almost, I don't know if this makes sense, but it's almost like in describing it or explaining something, I'm learning it afresh. So there's always something to learn, but the others, we've all got our own things that we love to do, and I think sometimes you don't know that you're quite good at something until you're round the table with.
Yeah.
So there's Paul in the shop. He's just incredible at all kinds of yarn stuff, and he was making this sign for the shop the other day in double knitting, and it said open one side and closed on the other, and he was doing it at a social knitting event where we were all sitting around eating. And he still managed to do it. It's
Yeah.
just,
Yeah.
but then I didn't quite appreciate, at the same knitting event I was doing a long tail tubular cast on, just, and I didn't really think it was anything particularly difficult, but until somebody else said, oh, how, it's just that
Yeah. Yeah.
realizing that you're just getting on doing your own thing, and
Yeah.
you don't realize until you're
With
somebody
others.
else is looking. So anyway, how did we get onto that? I'm wittering a
No,
bit.
no, we talk about learning. Di was an
Yes, yes.
ex-teacher, and I think that's what's wonderful about our knit and crochet world. People are very willing to share ways of doing it, because as we know, there are a billion ways of casting on. There are a billion
Oh yeah,
styles of knitting.
yeah,
Whether you're a
yeah.
thrower, whether you're a continental, whether you're a picker. And the beauty is there is no wrong. You just find your way of doing it. And that might be his
Find your
way or
way.
that way or her way,
Yeah.
don't you think?
But I think when it comes to the teaching aspect, that's what would be lovely to see in this show is the judging aspect, yes, because it's a competition, but also to have a very kindly sort of teacher that wants to. Sometimes I have to say on the B, I found some of the criticisms were just there for the sake of being
Oh, I
criticisms,
see. Yeah.
and I was struggling at times to learn, because I knew everything. I knew all the mistakes I'd made. I didn't need them sort of repeated. It was a bit depressing, but the times when it was really great was when you get feedback from the judges, which is really constructive, and you're actually learning
Yeah.
something that you didn't know before. So I think that would be great if we could see loads of that from a experienced teacher.
Absolutely. Um, she's based in Fife, creating her own wool range, knitting patterns that she does, teaching and workshops. And on the right there, as you can see in the picture, Sheila. Sheila is her production manager. and they work together. That is the company. So that's going to be nice because you're going to see this relationship between the two of them as professionals working. They know the industry inside out. They know their craft inside out. So I think we're in for a proper treat there with learning.
Yeah. Yeah, I hope so. I hope so.
Shall we have a look at the format? Shall we have a giggle at what is going to happen?
What are they gonna do?
Right, let's have a look. So this was published 11th of December 2024 when they released the news of Tom Daly hosting it. And let's start with this bit first. I'll highlight it and then read it because then we can talk about the format. Tom will oversee 8 60-minute episodes produced by Glasgow-based Hello Halo, where he'll welcome 10 ambitious knitters who will take on a series of complex challenges as they compete to become the UK's first TV knitting champion.
It's such a funny thing to hear said out loud, isn't it?
Annette.
TV knitting champion.
I mean, also, the idea that they'll take on a series of complex challenges. Knitting's blinking hard enough as it is. So how are they going? Are they going to make it even more complicated?
Well, the mind boggles a bit, doesn't it?
It does.
Because as you've experienced doing a timed knitting challenge, I mean, what was that like?
Well, it was boring. It was boring because it was an hour and a half. We'll talk about that later on, viewers. Yes, I did audition for it, and that was one of them. But it all went quiet for an hour and a half because we were all knitting. And in my head, I felt like, well, just imagine if I was on and the cameraman came up to me and said, how are you getting on? I said, well, I've only done 6 more rows since the last time you spoke to me. It's not going to...
I just dropped a stitch.
I know, it's not going to make for visual telly. So I think that idea of complex challenges, we're not going to see stocking stitch, are we? We're not going to see, right, make a scarf.
No, it's going to be, you would imagine, it's going to be Fair Isle, Intarsia colour work. It's going to be cabling. It's going to be, I don't know.
I think you're right. I think...
Can you double knit a button placket in, I don't know, 2 hours or something?
It's going to be, I would hazard a guess, maybe more design-based knitting. From the feedback and how I felt the audition was, maybe they're looking for knitters and crocheters that are more designers rather than me. I just like following a pattern. I don't want to design.
Yeah.
I don't want to make a cool new scarf or a shawl. I just want to design. So I think we're going to see some very, very creative knitwear designers from the judging by the looks of that.
And do you think, Stuart, that they might, it might be the sort of thing that they send people, brief them and then send them away and then they come back a week later with some samples? Maybe I don't know.
I don't think a week later. I think production time is going to be too pressured. I think it will all be over the weekend or say 3 days of filming and they are non-stop knitting.
But you can't knit. For example,
I know.
What can you knit in a weekend? I mean, a pair of socks if you're going fast. I don't know. That's where I just can't quite.
I know, but it leads us nicely onto this next part of the format. Right, let's read the next part because that is perfect with what we were just talking about. Set against the picturesque countryside of rural Scotland, which is steeped in a knitting and wool heritage, each episode sees the knitters tackle 2 challenges, okay? Right, so we've got an hour show, technically not an hour, because what have we got, 3 ad breaks? So
it'll be about 45 minutes.
45 minutes with 2 challenges, and then it says a group knit, where they'll be working together in teams on an and again, look at that wording, Lizzie. And it's not just a complex project, it's an extremely complex project.
Okay, I've got some. I've been thinking about extreme, not extremely complex, but I've been thinking about extreme knitting.
Oh, go on, go on.
And I've come up with some ideas for
Okay.
how to make the challenges more exciting.
Oh, go on.
If they're I mean, they've probably got it covered, but if they need some ideas, and I sort of referred to extreme ironing. Have you come across extreme ironing?
I've not, no. What?
There's a whole movement of people who are into extreme competitive extreme ironing. Anyway, so I've gone to my little sort of drawing board here.
Oh, right. Not one of your beautiful books, your sketchbooks
All
that you
my
have.
knitters' notebooks. Yes, love a little sketchbook.
Yes.
So okay, extreme. This is a with the caveat that if health and safety were no object,
Okay.
because there might be a few dangerous needle points, but protective
Face
eye
wear.
guards and
Goggles.
goggles, the
Go
whole
on.
lot. But if health and safety were no object, okay. So the challenge is you have to knit as many stitches as you can. So while in these situations, so okay, first of all, blindfolded.
Oh my Lord. Well, I know that some people could do that with their eyes closed.
Well, I know,
Yeah.
and I'm sort of very much aware in a
I'd
sort
be
of
rubbish.
Inclusive moment, there are people out there probably
Yeah.
who are doing this already, so they're already
Absolutely.
onto a winner.
Yeah.
Okay, number two, on the world's largest roller coaster, which is the Steel Dragon in Japan, and I don't know how many minutes it is to go on this roller coaster, but that's my second idea. Third idea, wing walking. So could you go on a wing walking flight? How many stitches could you manage?
Oh,
Third,
loads.
sitting in a field of sheep while a few sacks of sheep feed are emptied on top of you.
Oh, well, that would be... You wouldn't be able to do any.
No,
Because
well,
I know what some of those sheeps are like. When I
okay.
go and see my shepherd to get my lavender and blue each year, and a different shepherd
Yes.
every year, I always go into the field, and they'll go like they'll shake their food, come on, and then, did you know sheep could run that quick?
Oh, yeah. We used to live down the road from the one of the city farms in Bristol, and from our house you could hear the sheep above the noise of the traffic when it was feeding time. So yeah, I know that was an intentional choice for this extreme challenge.
I've
But
got
is it possible?
Can I just add to that list? Because
Yes.
you've just reminded me, when I was a kid, my uncle had a farm and looked after sheep and bred sheep and everything, with lots of land. Well, he's still got the land, but he doesn't do the sheep anymore. But as kids, so with my cousins and young in the holidays, this is going to probably gross you out, but our challenge was picking up the dried sheep's droppings
Oh my word.
and hulling them at each other, and
No.
who could pelt the cousin the most. And just for your information, I was an absolutely rubbish thrower, so I missed and I got pelted to smithereens. But
Oh,
it
Stuart.
it became something we did every summer, because it was before iPads, wasn't it? Before Mega Drives,
Yeah.
before maybe the Spectrum was just coming out. So you did just go into the field and you made your own games up, didn't you?
Sheep food.
So how many stitches can you knit while being pelted with dried sheep's droppings?
We're verging on I'm a celebrity at this point, aren't we? We could
Yes.
have the whole Game of Wool I'm a celebrity edition.
Love it.
Well, there are celebrities that knit, aren't there? Because every now and again you see
Yeah. Ian
Julia
McKellen.
Roberts or Gwyneth Paltrow,
Yeah.
whoever it is. So maybe there's a celebrity version in the brewing.
Any more on that list, or are we saving some
Oh
for
yeah, I've
later?
got some more.
Oh, go on.
Let's have a think. Well, I thought aerobics class, or no, aquafit. An aquafit class could be quite fun. How many stitches can you do during an aquafit class? That could
Yes.
be
So
nice.
while you're knitting beautifully and gracefully, underneath your legs are like,
While
oh,
Daryl up the top end is pumping out
oh,
his 80s
I want to
pop.
see him.
Steady
Oh,
on.
brilliant. That was giggle. That was a giggle.
I've also got another like uh oh no, we'll leave that for next time. I
Oh,
have
okay.
got a few more, but
All
we
right.
can leave those for next
Save it
time.
for
I'll
next
keep
time.
working on them.
Let's go back then to the format that we were talking about of this extreme complex project. Right. The key thing here, Lizzie, is they'll be working in teams. Now,
Okay.
I'm thinking this is the way they get around the time element. So you've got two rounds. One is team and one is going to be solo. I think in my head, we'll be in groups of 3 or 4 or however, because obviously you're going to whittle down as the weeks go on.
Yeah.
And we've got to make, I suppose the simplest idea would be a jumper. You've got 4 in your team. You've got to
Yeah.
knit the front. Mrs. Miggins has got to knit the back. Derek has got to knit an arm. And I've got to knit an
Yeah.
arm. And
Yeah.
then we've got our 8 hours to do that, because it's probably doable to knit an arm in 8 hours. And then we have to seam it together, and then the judges will judge us on the finished garment. And if you're, what were you doing? Were you doing the front? If your front is not very good because your tension was rubbish or you dropped a few stitches, then you're going home.
I'm doing the bind off. That's what I'm doing.
Well, I'm definitely voting you out then, because you've done
Oh,
just the bind off. Is that all you've done in 8 hours?
I know, sorry. I go slowly and then I probably would unravel it and try again because it wasn't perfect. I
I
just
think
don't know.
I think
I
that's how they're
wonder
going
if
to
they're
do
going
it.
to do things like, that giant knitting people do with their arms,
Yes. Yeah.
um, or just knitting with giant pins so that you can actually create something quite big.
Right.
Although, would the likes of Di and Sheila be disapproving because they're so beautiful? The things they make are so beautiful and so detailed. How are you
Well,
going to keep? I
this
don't
is
know.
this is it. This is the whole point of what we're talking about, isn't it? You've
What's
got this
about?
game show format
Yeah.
mixed with that's got to be fun, quick, almost silly maybe, but yet you've got the tradition of something really beautiful, of fine four-ply,
I
fair
know.
isle. How do
I
the two
know.
marry? So they could be like, look, and there's a clue down here on this one, Lizzie. It says all made from wool. These include clothing, jewellery, home accessories, furniture,
Okay.
sculptures.
Sculpture.
So that
Right.
could be one of the extreme challenges, using
Yeah.
massive wool or
Massive.
slivers or unspun big slivers and making a beautiful sculpture out of that. That's why I keep coming back to that design idea, because
Yes.
a lot of this is designing, I think, isn't it? So,
Yeah.
so maybe you can get still some of that constructive criticism from those experts, but yes, it will be big because it has to be big because it works up quick. So maybe that
Have you?
jumper is super chunky.
Maybe it. Have you? What are the biggest pair of knitting needles you've ever seen?
I've only seen like a 15 mil, those plastic ones from Pony that I used to have in the shop, but they sat on the
Yes.
shelf for about 3 years, getting very dusty because
Well, I'm going.
no one uses them. But
No,
they
but
have the biggest ones I've seen.
I'm going to blow your knitting needle mind. Um, I was at I think it was a crafty makers fair or something on the docks in Bristol a number of years ago, and there was a lady sitting. She wasn't actually in a stall because no stall would have been big enough to hold this, but each of her knitting needles was probably about 3 meters long, and the diameter must have been about coming on for eight centimeters, something like that.
Wow.
and she was she was knitting on her own with these needles and knitting quite a big thing. And I just wonder if one of these challenges could be almost become like a sort of tug of war of the knitting needles. If they have ginormous needles and they have to work
Yeah.
together to hold the needles, wind it round, and
Could
create a gigantic
could well
something.
be. Because that team element is there. They'll be working together in teams. And
Yeah.
then I think they'll then use that for the elimination process. That I think then those four will then go. They've got to choose. So we failed the round. Okay, they won because their jumper was wonderful. And
Yeah.
because you dropped some stitches on the back, we're in the elimination round, and then us
Yeah.
four have to choose one person to go home. So
Oh no, that's cruel.
I think that's what they'll do.
Do you not think they'll do it like a sort of they'll have a knit off? It's like they do on Strictly. So they have the people who are safe and they go up the stairs, and then they have a dance off at the end. The people who have the lowest number of votes, and then um,
Yeah, I get you. They could
or
do. Yeah, so the two lowest people then have to go against each other in a knit. I love the idea. Let's put it on the list.
that's when they have to go on a roller coaster and knit as many stitches as they can.
Yeah, and that's a great. I love it. But
See, we've nailed it.
what we'll do is that's the beauty of doing this is we'll add them all on a list, and then when the first ever episode comes out, we can see how close or how stupidly far we are.
Oh, well, it's just going to be so not like anything that
I
we've
think
just.
so.
I
I
think
think
it's going to be a really sweet, lovely, beautiful show, isn't it? Basically.
well, you look at this bit, so the round two, the solo bit, an individual knit, and look at the terminology and the words they're using. There is a definite change here where they'll take on individual briefs that will really test their capabilities and skill. And I
Yeah,
think that's where Di and Sheila will really come in, and they might just have
yeah,
a little something like make a cable mug rug or make a
yeah.
four ply fair isle, something small, a doily.
Let's see. They'll take individual briefs that will really test their capabilities and skill level.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because it's a different
yeah.
terminology there, isn't it? Different vocabulary used.
Because if you think about the other talent shows like The Bee or Pottery Throwdown, where you get your made to measure and you have quite a few hours. So we would film over a 2 day period, and on the second day it was all made to measure, and you'd have say 5 hours. And over 5 hours, you could probably do, if you were doing a test gauge, for example, you could probably do something really quite beautiful,
Yeah,
couldn't you? If you have that long to do it, and you, in terms of filming it, you might film a bit of the technique, but that's when they would talk to us as well, and you sort of talk about what you were doing and what your ideas were, and they'd have you talking to the judges. So there is that opportunity, and then at the end, you have hopefully you have these beautiful, sumptuous pieces that
I think you're right.
are just like extraordinary. So
I think you're
yeah, that's
absolutely right. I think you'll get the larger than life team round, which is a bit of fun, maybe silly, huge
yeah,
things. And then this round is the proper serious skill. You'll get to see those knitters do, or crocheters, because there will be crochet. They definitely said there'll be crochet within this series. Footage of them knitting. That's where Tom might be talking to them and saying, "So Lizzie, how long
yeah.
have you been knitting for?" Whilst they're just knitting away. I think that's that, and that will be lovely if so. Hopefully, a slower pace and more relaxed and less
Yeah.
frenetic.
Well, also, do you think they might? Well, it's Channel 4, isn't it? So there wouldn't be. I was wondering if they might do a little. Um, there might be a slither in the show, like Country File, where they go and talk to a shepherdess or something.
Oh,
Or, but that is a little bit more BBC Two, isn't
it
it?
is, but it would be lovely. Because people
Well,
always want the education. How many times do you see on YouTube shows of the sewing bee? They want more of the education. And I know
well, they
they're
do.
pushed for
They
time, but they
do.
do, don't they?
The viewers do. The niche viewers do. But overall, what I think I've realised is that, um, and I think the producers, if they thought there was an audience for that was big enough, they would do it. But because they just, especially with Channel 4, they want to keep it entertainment,
Yeah.
and the educational aspect is not quite so.
It's right.
It's an entertaining telly show basically. So, but yeah,
And we have to remember they've got to get eyes on the telly. They've got to get the ad revenue to get recommissioned,
oh,
haven't they? It's got to be entertaining, hasn't it, for it to work?
that's the reality.
Yeah.
That's the reality.
Um,
But
and let's just finish off with what the executive producer of the show says, Wendy Rattray. We're thrilled to have Tom as our host. There really couldn't be more perfect fit, as he's known for his knitting skills almost as much as Olympic diving success. Anyone can knit, and Tom reflects a whole new generation who have picked up needles and let their imaginations run wild. And I think that's right, don't you?
just the other day, this lovely guy came into the shop. He was quite nervous, and he said, "Oh, I've just bought Tom Daly's book, and I really want to. I've tried knitting a bit from his book, but I really want to try something new. Can you help me?" And we just had this lovely chat. I think, yeah, good on you, Tom Daly, because
Yeah,
there's a whole new crowd of people out
absolutely.
there who are seeing that actually
Yeah,
knitting
yeah.
knitting is for everybody.
And
So
and also let's be candid here, because you work in a yarn shop, I run a yarn shop. If we don't have that new generation coming, those lovely retired lot who have been knitting for years, they're going to move on. And if we're not having the new ones coming, the shop will close, won't it? We need people to come in and buy wool, don't we? So we need those new ones to come in.
I think also it can be in any of these, I've come across it in the sewing world, in the quilting world. There are people who are so good at what they do, and they are rightly very protective over their expertise,
Yeah.
and I think, celebrating excellence. um, but I think if there's a space where everyone can belong, whatever your experience, then that's just really, it adds to that feeling of it being an inclusive,
Oh,
accessible thing.
I
And
can
I think that's where the choice of having Tom Daly in there is really good. It's really
absolutely.
lovely.
When I left teaching and set up my shop and then started my knit and natters, and yes, most of them are probably 50 and above because it's during the day, they're retired, though I've now started a Saturday one and they are much younger because they work. There was never once any judgment about my sexuality at all. How wonderful is that? And we were just all knitting together, sharing skills, sharing techniques, and learning from each other, because I've got new techniques, they've got techniques that I don't know how to do, and or they're good at sewing up. I've learned something too on
Oh,
sewing up. And
right,
isn't that
yeah.
wonderful? No judgment and no discrimination at all. Maybe I'm lucky, but I would like to think that the knitting and crochet world is, what do you call it? What was your words? Accepting like that, and
Inclusive and
yeah,
accessible, and
inclusive.
yeah. Mm. And yeah, a lot of the sewing world is like that too. And the other thing, which is where, actually at the end of the day, sort of coming back to the top of our chat, and why we knit in the first place, and why this, Tom Daly saying that he knits to keep himself, it's his therapy. And so many of us knit because it's our therapy,
Yeah.
don't we? And so for it to be a kind thing, and a healthy thing, and an inspiring thing, I think, I really hope actually that the show is that as well.
Well, we've not got long to find out. I hope this opening show has got you, the viewer, excited. Are you still there? Have you been lit with 50 minutes, Lizzie? We've been chatting. That's great,
Not
isn't it?
bad.
I hope you're
Pair of
still
old gas
watching.
bags.
Are you excited for it? We want to hear your comments. Pop them in. Doesn't matter how mad they are. Can you beat some of Lizzie's challenges ideas? And your thoughts on the challenges. We want to try and keep it as positive as possible, but we do live in a free world where we all have different opinions, and opinions are supposed to be celebrated. Just think about how you deliver those, because other people could be watching and reading. But it makes a show when you have debate and discussion, and you can have that discussion. Otherwise, if we all just said that was lovely, it would be a bit boring, wouldn't it?
I agree with that, and I just to second that as well, from a person that's been on the shows, and I talk to a lot of the other bees as well, that, you know, if ever we've got comments, we will all have opinions about things, and we will have personal subjective preference as to styles or colours, but as long as we can remember that the people behind the makes and the people behind the cameras or in front of the cameras are human beings, and they've got feelings, and we're not out to roast anyone. We're just out to reflect on things against our own experiences. Absolutely. But we want to keep it kind, don't we?
It's because that's the wonders of YouTube, isn't it, Lizzie? There are some people who are on their own or who don't have knitting friends. You know, like you in the olden days, you'd go to work as a teacher, and we'd always talk about what we saw on the telly the night before. Or if you're a Strictly fan, you'd go, I can't believe he got chucked down. And then you have those discussions, and they're great. And that's the beauty of YouTube. You can find your content. So some people might be watching that don't have knitting friends, but so desperate to talk about their favourite. And they might be upset that their favourite knitter has just been dumped, whereas my favourite is still in it. And that's what is nice. It brings people together, doesn't it? To have those discussions, not be so lonely, and find a place to connect with people where they share a like of a craft and hobby. So that's another reason why we're here, because it does make the world a smaller place, doesn't it, on YouTube?
It does. Yeah, so we're looking forward to seeing everybody's comments, aren't we, Stuart?
Yeah, absolutely. And if you've got any ideas of things for us to talk about, please put them in the chat too. We'll do another show in a couple of weeks' time where we'll talk about, my audition process, give you a few glimpses of what went on, that super chunky 90-minute challenge. We'll talk about that in more detail. And then also maybe what we could do, Lizzie, as the show progresses, we could get some people who maybe auditioned and didn't get on the show. That might be good as the weeks progress.
Yeah,
but one thing we must remember, it's been filmed already. So February and March has been filmed. So there are some knitters who perhaps I was with on that day who are lip sealed, and they could be watching our show.
They'll be bursting. They will be bursting at the seams to share the news. Yeah. Honestly, trying to keep that quiet is so hard.
I can't even begin to think, because you had to keep it quiet for nearly just shy of a year, because you auditioned and then you filmed in September, did you?
Actually, yeah, if you include that whole application audition process, it's about a year, crikey.
Right, absolutely brilliant. It's so exciting. We'll let you go, Lizzie, get on with your knitting, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks when we talk about the whole audition process. But I hope you enjoyed the show. Share it. Let's get the chatter for the Game of Wool going. They've just started posting more on Instagram too, so you can tell they're gearing up for a show launch, because they're posting each day and reposting stories, sharing all the fabulous work of knitters. You might be seeing a contestant on there, who knows, but go on to Instagram and take a look at Game of Wool. I'll put all the links below, and let's get excited about knitting and crochet on mainstream telly. Cheers, Lizzie. Thanks very much. See ya.